What's going on, guys? We're ranking Game Boys. It's the Game Boy episode. As you can see, I've got a tier list open with all the big models of the Game Boy that have come out, and we're just gonna be ranking them. I don't expect this video to be too long. I'm not gonna go really in depth. I'm just gonna give a couple of points on, obviously, my opinion on each one of these things. If you want me to go on in depth, then watch Scott the Waz, because I think he's pretty much made a video on every single one of these. I've had experience with all of these Game Boys. I have all of them, and so I'm not just ranking them just like because I've seen stuff online. I know what it's like to play them, and I know the games on them and stuff like that. So we're going in with my perspective. What do I think is the best Game Boy? Well, I guess we're just gonna have to find out. I've got them in order here, and also below this there's a bunch of this isn't my tier list. I've just found one, and they have the DS line too. Maybe one day I'll rank the DS's, but I really just wanted to focus on the Game Boy right now because I've just been thinking about the Game Boy a lot. You know, the DS has kind of been a little bit more recent. I want to talk about Game Boys right now, so we're just gonna go Game Boys. I guess starting off, we'll do the original. That's not what I'm putting it. I just put it down for right now. So the original Game Boy, it came out, and it was, I feel like the original Game Boy is really like just a classic system. Like, look at that. It's like gray and the dots, the red dots for buttons. It's like, it's got this special look to it that none of the other ones have. So you gotta give it something. But that special look might not be that good because this thing is huge. Like, you can't really fit it in a pocket. Like, you can kind of, but it's not like these ones down here. This one's pretty bulky. It takes a lot of batteries. The screen, for what it takes, is not too hot. But the thing that like makes up for all of it is the price and the games. Those two were like, oh my goodness. That's why it beat out every competition and made the Game Boy like a staple name. It's because of those features. So you have to take into account the impact, but also how the system really is, right? And I think it's good. I think it is B tier. I think it's B tier, right? It's not bad. There are other Game Boy iterations that are better than the Game Boy. So I feel like I'm putting it like A or S. It's like it gets better from here. So, but it's also not bad. So I feel like B tier is a good one. The Game Boy Pocket. So we're skipping over the Play It Louds and like the colored versions of the Game Boy. We're just going straight to the Pocket. Game Boy Pocket, I feel like is just a better version of the Game Boy. You don't have the green like tinted screen anymore. It's a lot like smaller, and it's so much more portable. It still plays all the same Game Boy games. They had like those black cartridges. I don't know what those were all about. It still plays all the same Game Boy games, just in a smaller, more compact area. And you're really not losing too much from downsizing. Honestly, it just looks a lot sleeker. Like the silver version of this, oh my goodness, it looks so good. I really like it, and that's all I gotta say about it. The Game Boy Light. So the Game Boy Light, so the other two Game Boys, they don't have a backlight. The only way you could see the screen is if you have a light pointed at the screen. So a lot of the times, like, you couldn't really play it in a dark setting. Like if you were in your room at nighttime, you'd have to have the lights on and usually have it under a light. With the Game Boy Light though, it had a blue backlight, and it does look really cool. I really like the blue like hue of it. And I feel like that has a very special charm to it. I feel like Game Boy Light, I want to like it more than I do, and I don't really know why I don't like it as much, but like it's pretty good. I'm gonna go with B tier. I think it's above the original Game Boy, but I don't think it's. I think that the Pocket is just better. And if I'm correct, the Light is also a little thicker, so the Pocket it has that portability with it, where it's this tiny silver rectangle, and the Light is like it's starting to have those like bumps that the other Game Boy started to have. The Game Boy Pocket is just so like thin. It's just a silver rectangle that can play games. Alright, the Game Boy Color. This one's iconic. Like seriously, like this is pretty much, it's basically Game Boy then Game Boy Color. You don't really think about these other two iterations, but the Game Boy Color, it's good. I'm thinking I don't know. See, I in my opinion, I don't really like the Game Boy Color that much. It's pretty good, but I don't know. I never really enjoyed my time with Game Boy Color. You could pretty much play all the other Game Boy games in color, which is a really cool feature. But also, there's new Game Boy games that are, I think, a little bit more intensive, and they have color. So, like, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna go with A tier. I think it's above the Pocket, but I don't know if it's S tier. I don't think it's S tier. I think a big thing with me with the Game Boy Color was the games just don't really hit as hard as the games for the original Game Boy. I know you can play the original Game Boy games on the Game Boy Color, but I feel like the new games that came out for the Color just weren't really as memorable as the Game Boy games. There's a lot of really good, just original Game Boy games. With the Color, I feel like the Color is really associated with Pokemon. Like, and I'm not a big fan of Pokemon, so it's like, I don't know. The Game Boy Color and Pokemon just like, I feel like you associate Pokemon with Game Boy Color and you associate Game Boy Color with Pokemon. They're like so like interweaved with each other. I think the Game Boy Color isn't bad. It's definitely good, but it still doesn't have a backlight. The Game Boy Light has a backlight, and then they just like went back and said, no, we're not gonna put a backlight for Game Boy Color. Which is okay, but I definitely think it could have used it. Alright, the next one, Game Boy Advance. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a big fan of the Game Boy Advance. I feel like, compared to the other ones, I really didn't like the length, the long ways of it. I feel like the verticality on the original Game Boys is more iconic. It feels better to play rather than this. Even though most of our main systems nowadays for portable, they are long ways. Like the Switch is technically long ways, and PS Vita, DS's, and kind of stuff like that. However, to me, in a Game Boy, you gotta go vertical. The Game Boy Advance also came with new games on these tinier cartridges, which can hold more like space in games and stuff like. Which is insane to me that we kept getting smaller and smaller with more space, and I don't know, it's just crazy. But this one still doesn't have a backlight. Like, now we're 5 iterations in, like, and even more if we count like some of the minor tweaks to some of these things. We're 5 mainline Game Boys in, and we still only have one that has a backlight. The other 2 went back and said, no, we're not gonna put a light in it. With this one, now the big cartridges, they're sticking out of the top pretty like heavily, and like, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of awkward when you have this giant cartridge sticking out of the top. It's really not designed for it. It's not bad. It's definitely not D tier. It's C tier. It's not as good as the other ones, but it still has some good titles, and you know, it's not bad. It's just not as good. But you know what is as good? This one. Game Boy Advance SP is S tier for sure. It is far and away just the best Game Boy system here. I almost kind of wanted to make this tier list just so I could talk about the Game Boy Advance SP. The Game Boy Advance SP can play all the previous Game Boy games, and it has a foldable clamshell design kind of thing. And this is just ingenious. I liked the Pocket a lot because it was so portable and tiny, but now with the clamshell design, you can get even smaller and still have more space now that you can fold it out. Some of the iterations didn't have a backlight, but others did. So now they started being like, yeah, we'll put a backlight in it. Like, if you wanted to play classic Game Boy games, this is the preferred way to play, 100%. Plus, the cartridge is loaded from the bottom instead of the top, so even when you have those bigger cartridges, it just feels a little bit more natural to have them sticking out the bottom. And then we have the Game Boy Micro. Now, we kind of regress, right? It's like, Game Boy Advance SP was the best. This one's probably the worst. The Game Boy Micro can only play Game Boy Advance games, so it can't play the original, it can't play color, only Advance, which is a pretty big knock to it. It's like, yeah, if you want to play Game Boy Advance, then sure, but if you want to play Game Boy Advance, then get the SP, because that can also play Game Boy Advance, plus the other ones. This thing is pretty tiny, and I do like the charm of it being like so small, trying to play Game Boy games on it, but it isn't exactly the most comfortable thing. Like, I don't know, you could definitely, it's not that like ergonomic, I feel like, you know, you're like this trying to play it, and the screen is so tiny compared to the other ones. Like, it's not like microscopic to where you can't really see. It's still a decently functioning screen, and it has a light, but in terms of the other ones, I feel like you're really starting to lack a lot of the features, and it's really not worth it. I don't know if it's D tier. It's either bottom C or D. It's not bad. I don't know. I kind of go back and forth. I'll do this. I'll go C, bottom C, because I'm like, it still plays Game Boy Advance games, and Game Boy Advance games are really fun to play. And it's tiny, and it's got a light on it, so there are features here that are good. So that's why I'm like, it can't be the last tier. It can't be bottom. If it's this, I feel like now it's like, maybe. I like the Game Boy Advance more, but I don't know if I dislike this much more to put it in D. I'll keep it in C for now. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed watching this. Hopefully whatever you were doing while watching this, whether it was just laying down or eating or working or whatever you were doing, hopefully I was entertaining enough for the past however long this is. And hopefully you have a great rest of the day, whatever you do. Alright, see you later.